In this video, we're breaking down 10 of the healthiest foods that people in the UK should have in their kitchen. These aren't exotic superfoods flown in from the other side of the world. They're accessible, affordable foods you can find in almost any British supermarket, from Tesco and Sainsbury's to Aldi, Lidl and Asda. And the first one will surprise you because there's a good chance it's already sitting in your kitchen cupboard right now. At number 1. Oats. If you want one food that's cheap, flexible and genuinely evidence-backed, it's oats. Not because oats are magical, because they contain a specific soluble fiber called beta-glucan. And that fiber has one of the most solid nutritional reputations in Europe. Enough beta-glucan from oats is linked to lower blood cholesterol. In practice, that means oats can support heart health when they replace refined breakfasts. A basic 40-gram serving is roughly 150 calories. You get a mix of slow-digesting starch, some protein, and enough fiber to make breakfast feel like a meal rather than a sugar hit. Beyond cholesterol, oats are useful for glucose control simply because they're a whole grain with viscosity. They slow down how quickly carbohydrates hit your bloodstream, especially when paired with protein like yogurt. But here's where oats become strategically interesting. They're what you might call a platform food. You can take the same bowl and turn it into a higher protein breakfast with yogurt, a higher fiber breakfast with chia, or a polyphenol-rich breakfast with blueberries and dark chocolate shavings. The only real trap is turning oats into dessert, loading on sugar, syrups, and oversized portions. If you do that, you've just built an expensive cake. Keep the base boring. Let toppings add purpose. Fruit for vitamin C, nuts for fats, and if you're working with savory meals, olive oil stays in that lane. At number 2. Blueberries. Blueberries are the easiest way to make healthy eating feel like a treat, but their real value isn't aesthetic, it's biochemical. They're rich in polyphenols, especially a subclass called anthocyanins. These compounds are studied for vascular function and brain aging pathways. In human trials and reviews, blueberries show potential for small to modest improvements in blood pressure or endothelial function. There's also research interest in cognition, particularly in older adults, but outcomes vary. In the UK, a standard fruit and vegetable portion is 80 grams. That's a useful anchor. You're not trying to megadose berries. You're trying to get a consistent intake of fruit that displaces biscuits. That 80-gram serving is low-calorie, mostly carbohydrates in the form of natural sugars, and it stacks well with yogurt for protein and oats for fiber, which can blunt the speed of the glucose rise compared with eating fruit alone. Blueberries also bring small amounts of vitamin C and other micronutrients, but their unique point isn't vitamins, it's polyphenol density per bite. If you hate vegetables, berries are one of the few sweet foods that still push you toward the physiology of plants. Now, the practical reality. Blueberries can be expensive fresh. Frozen berries often give better value and reduce waste. The health effect is still mostly about the plant compounds and overall diet pattern. Whether they're fresh or frozen, the biochemistry is largely the same. One last point. Berries alone won't fix a poor diet, but they can make a good diet easier to sustain. At number 3, chia seeds. Look at chia seeds for a moment. Tiny black specks. Forgettable. But watch what happens when you add water. Within minutes, each seed swells into a translucent gel capsule. That transformation isn't just visual, it's mechanical. In your digestive system, chia behaves like texture-engineered infrastructure. The gel forms a viscous matrix that slows the breakdown of food, extends the feeling of fullness, and helps regulate how quickly nutrients enter your bloodstream. A 15-gram serving, about a tablespoon, delivers roughly 5 grams of fiber. That's a quarter of your daily target from a single spoonful. And chia is one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically ALA. Your body converts ALA to the more bioactive EPA and DHA very inefficiently. So don't mistake chia for fish oil in seed form. The clinical picture is mixed but interesting. Trials and reviews report modest improvements in markers like blood pressure, inflammation, and post-meal glucose in some populations. Other studies show little change. The honest assessment: chia is a helpful tool, not a miracle. What makes chia unique isn't just the nutrients, It's the mucilage gel. It changes the physical experience of eating. Stir it into yogurt and you get pudding. Add it to oats and breakfast holds you longer. Mix it into a smoothie and the texture shifts from juice to meal. One practical caution: some UK retailer guidance sets a 15-gram daily maximum, and if eaten dry, chia poses a choking risk for small children. Soak it first. At number 4, dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is where nutrition gets awkward. It's a treat, but it's also one of the few treats with a serious research thread. Cocoa contains flavonols, and across trials and reviews, cocoa products can produce small reductions in blood pressure and improvements in vascular function, especially in the short term. That's not permission to eat half a bar. It's a reason to treat 70% plus chocolate as a measured indulgence rather than a binge food. A realistic serving is about 20 grams, a couple of squares. That's still over 100 calories. So the health logic only works if those calories replace something worse: a sugary dessert, a biscuit habit, or a late-night snack spiral. At 70% cocoa, you typically get more fiber and less sugar than milk chocolate. The unique angle of dark chocolate isn't antioxidants as a buzzword. It's because cocoa flavonols are studied specifically for endothelial nitric oxide pathways, which relate to blood vessel function. But effects vary by processing, dose, and baseline health. Think of dark chocolate as a tool for adherence. It helps healthy eating feel enjoyable. If you're someone who needs something sweet after lunch, 2 squares of 70% dark chocolate might be the difference between maintaining a healthy diet and abandoning it entirely. One caution: if you're sensitive to caffeine-like compounds, chocolate can worsen reflux or sleep for some people. And if you're watching sugar, the label matters more than the marketing. Check the sugar content per 100 grams, not just the cocoa percentage on the front. Dark chocolate works when it's part of a strategy, not when it's an excuse. At number 5, almonds. A 30-gram handful is calorie-dense, but it delivers a useful combination: unsaturated fats, fiber, and protein. That structure makes almonds surprisingly good for satiety. Clinical research on nuts consistently points toward improvements in lipid markers when nuts replace refined snacks. Micronutrient-wise, almonds are one of the best common snack sources of vitamin E, plus magnesium and calcium. Vitamin E is often underconsumed. It's involved in protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage. Again, not a miracle claim, just basic nutrition. The unique advantage of almonds compared with many snack foods is what you might call chew cost. They take time to eat, which slows intake. Some studies also suggest that not all almond calories are absorbed due to the nut's structure. That's another reason nuts can be weight neutral in practice when portioned properly. Cost-wise, your best comparator is unit price per kilogram, and if you're prone to overeating nuts, pre-portion them. A 30-gram serving fits in a small snack bag. Once you see what 30 grams actually looks like, it's easier to stick to it. Number 6, lentils. Lentils are one of the highest return on effort foods in a UK kitchen. Cheap, shelf-stable, and physiologically powerful. They combine protein, fiber, and slow carbohydrates. That's exactly the structure you want for steadier energy and better appetite control. It's why dietary pulses, including lentils, show up repeatedly in research on glycemic control and cardiometabolic markers. A cooked portion can be substantial without being calorie-heavy, and lentils are rich in folate and minerals like potassium and iron. They also count toward your 5 a day as beans and pulses. But there's a UK guideline quirk. They only count as 1 portion per day, no matter how many you eat, because their nutrient mix differs from that of fruits and vegetables. Clinical evidence is strongest when lentils replace refined grains or processed meat. Meta-analyses of pulse intake in trials commonly show improvements in intermediate outcomes, especially blood lipids and post-meal glucose, though effect sizes vary with dose and background diet. The honest framing: lentils won't cancel out a poor diet, but they're one of the cleanest upgrades you can make to meals like soups, stews, curries, and pasta sauces. If you're building a sustainable diet, lentils are less about optimization and more about repeatability. Cost-wise, lentils vary widely by retailer and pack size, but even at the higher end, you're looking at pennies per serving. Number 7. Organic extra virgin olive oil. If you want the strongest single clinical story in this entire list, it's extra virgin olive oil. It features in one of the most famous dietary trials ever conducted. In the pre-dimmed study, a Mediterranean dietary pattern supplemented with extra virgin olive oil was linked to a lower incidence of major cardiovascular events versus a control diet. That's not a lab theory, that's hard clinical endpoint research. Mechanistically, olive oil is mostly monounsaturated fat, specifically oleic acid, but extra virgin also carries polyphenols, which are thought to contribute to anti-inflammatory and endothelial effects. Europe even has a specific authorized statement about olive oil polyphenols and the protection of LDL from oxidative damage, though that depends on polyphenol content and intake. In real life, olive oil is still 120 calories per tablespoon, so you're not adding it, you're swapping it in. Finish lentils and greens with a measured drizzle. That's where olive oil shines. It makes healthy food taste like restaurant food, which improves adherence. Organic matters ethically and agriculturally for some shoppers, but physiologically, your body cares more about extra virgin quality, freshness, and displacement of less healthy fats. UK pricing varies sharply. Check the price per litre and watch for promotions. Number 8. Swiss chard. It's extremely low calorie, but it packs color, bitterness, and minerals into a big volume of food. Exactly what most UK diets underdeliver. In COVID data, chard stands out particularly for provitamin A, vitamin C, folate, potassium, and magnesium. Nutrients that tie into immune function, red blood cell formation, and muscle and nerve signaling. Health claims here are mostly indirect. We don't have a deep library of Swiss chard-specific clinical trials, but we do have a strong public health argument for eating more vegetables. And chard offers a practical way to do it. The stems keep their texture, the leaves wilt like spinach, and the slight bitterness makes meals taste grown up, which helps you rely less on salt and sugar. For body systems, digestive benefits mostly come from fiber and volume. Chard is relatively high in oxalates compared with some greens, so if you're prone to kidney stones, be sensible with very large intakes. That's not anti-chard, it's precision. Cost-wise, chard can be pricier than basic greens, but if you can find it at a reasonable price, it's one of the easiest ways to make vegetables feel substantial. One principle: displacement matters more than addition. These aren't miracle foods. They're evidence-based tools that work when they replace something worse. Chia instead of processed snacks, oats instead of sugary cereal, lentils instead of refined grains, olive oil instead of butter. If this helped, leave a comment with which food you're starting with. Subscribe for more evidence-based nutrition, and share this with someone who's tired of superfood hype.